Welcome back everyone to EU4 with the MEIOU Taxes mod, and this is going to be my vote video. Down in the comments below, please vote for which country would you want me to play. Now, if you already want to go down there and comment, you can do it if you already have an idea, but I'm just gonna be briefly explaining the countries and the areas, and just in case you've never played EU4, etc. The one condition is going to be no New World, because it is very hard to play as a New World nation, and there's not even just that. Like, it could be very hard, okay, sure, but there's a lot of waiting involved, which really is the thing that makes it kind of annoying. But yeah, other than that, there's like 4 areas mainly that you could say. 5. There's Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Africa, Middle East, and East Asia. Or I guess you could also divide India, but whatever. So in Europe, interesting countries to play include the Irish clans, which are all divided up, so it's pretty, it's most likely pretty hard to unite Ireland and try to fight off the English. The Scots, so the Kingdom of Scotland, of course, with the Bruce dynasty, pretty much contender for dominance against England. France has both France, Burgundy, and I guess you could also say Brittany, that are all interesting to play. Then you also have Flanders. I'm not sure if you'd count Flanders as French, but well, Flanders is more Dutch, so yeah. Wait, you have French name, so I guess it is French after all. Flanders and Holland are both kind of interesting in Low Countries, as is Brabant. Then there is a pretty interesting one that is, let's see if I can find it in this damn mess that is the Holy Roman Empire. Luxembourg. Where can I find Luxembourg? There it is. Luxembourg in this period is actually pretty interesting, because they've got, I believe they've got a pretty high chance of becoming the next emperor. And also they have a personal union of Brabant. Then there's, well, trillions of states in the Holy Roman Empire. Most interesting of which would most likely be, I guess, Lübeck, because of the Hansa-Hanseatic Trade League. And of course Brandenburg, because, gotta form Prussia. Also other interesting states, Bavaria, or Bayern-Landshut, I don't know. And of course Bohemia. Bohemia being pretty much the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire at the start, and being very, very cool. Poland, although I'm guessing that Poland is a pretty easy country to play. Sweden and Norway are both options. Sweden is locked in a civil war at the start. Denmark has its own troubles to deal with, and they can try to unite up Scandinavia as well. The Teutonic Order is very interesting, although since you have to face Poland, which is very strong, the Teutonic Order is pretty hard to play. Essentially a hoarder of warrior monks, essentially, trying to convert up everybody around here, because Lithuania is still a pagan country. Then up here, Eastern Europe, I would not really play something that's in the area of Muscovy, Novgorod, because, hey, if you're coming to this video without knowing my channel, go, watch my Muscovy playthrough. I just finished one. The Hordes, I'd rather hold off on the Hordes for now. So the White Horde, the Blue Horde, Mugulistan, and Transoxania, I would rather hold off on those, and possibly the Yuan dynasty as well. No, Yuan is an empire. Okay. Then in the Middle East, you have, of course, well, Middle East. You also still have some more Eastern Europe. You have Serbia, which is very interesting to play. Of course, all the Italian states. Serbia is very interesting, as is Bosnia. And, of course, also Wallachia and Bulgaria. The problem with these, and also the Empire of the Romans, is how strong the Ottomans are. So they're very fun, but quite hard, because when the Ottomans do come for you, well, yeah. Of course, in the Middle East, you have all the various Turkish miners and the Ottomans. The Jalurids, which usually fall and crash and burn, So it would be fun to try to keep them alive, keep the dream going. The Chupinids, I believe, are a horde. No, they are not. Okay, interesting. Georgia is pretty interesting. They're an Orthodox state in the middle of basically just a bunch of Muslims. So they pretty much have their work cut out for them. And Shirvan, being essentially Azerbaijan, also has its own interesting elements. As does in the area, actually, Genoa, which is an Italian republic, which has a bunch of colonies all around the Black Sea. Then in Persia, you have all the different little kingdoms that can form Persia, which is, well, pretty cool in itself. You have Fars down here, Sarvardar, Mazandaran, etc., etc. You have Herat, which is, I believe, it's Iranian. Yeah, I thought that Herat would be Afghan, but weird. Then in India, you have Delhi, which is very strong and has tons of vassals, but usually falls apart. The Bahman, and Delhi is of course the main Muslim Sultanate of India. Then you have, for Hindus, you have the Bahmani, although they're also Shiite. Interesting. Do you even have a Hindu nation right now? Yeah, you do. You have Vijayanagar, right? Vijayanagar and all the Indian miners down here. Then you have Madurai, which is more looking towards Ceylon, Jaffna, so trying to dominate some trade. Bengal. Then you come into Southeast Asia. You have Ayutthaya, which is very strong. Khmer, essentially Cambodia. And Dai Viet, which is Vietnam. And all of these are pretty interesting. Champa is, I believe, pretty hard to play, but they can also be kind of cool, I guess. Then you have a bunch of little Shan states, Shan Confederacy, a bunch of essentially underdeveloped little entities in the mountains up here. See that the terrain map mode is not really working out, but you know. In Southeast Asia, you also have a bunch of people down here that are kind of interesting because you can try to unite up Indonesia as something like Majapahit, which has tons of vassals, or you can play as one of the vassals of Majapahit. If you go to diplomat mode, that's all their little empire. You can play as one of their vassals or as Malacca and try to make Majapahit crash and burn and build your own little empire in the area. Then you have Lusong, a Philippine kingdom. The Sulu, which is a little tiny island, that would be, I guess, pretty funny. Brunei, and then you have big, you know, the big little states. Big little because they're very big, they're very powerful, but they're all disunited. You have China, where the Yuan dynasty is falling and the Ming dynasty is rising up. Then you have Japan, which is basically still in the early days of the shogunate, etc., etc. So you have interesting. It looks like Japan doesn't actually have a bunch of vassals. It's still the Yamato. And I'm guessing that, you know, it would be pretty interesting to try to unite up Japan. It would take a long, long, long time because look at all the states. These are all little individual countries, essentially. So it would be very, very hard. Then you have all of the Manchus out here. Korea, or Goryeo. And then all the Chinese states, which are, of course, trying to unite up China, destroy the Mongol Yuan, and essentially assert dominance. One interesting one is down here, the Han, in the center of China. It's called Han, and that there is Han, which is Chinese for Chinese, and also for the Han dynasty, which is a bit like the Roman Empire of China, to be a little bit inaccurate, but you know. And they start off at war with the Ning down here, and they're a kingdom, independent nation. So uniting China as Han would probably be pretty fun. Now they have probably less, a lot less population than the Ming, who are bordering them. So I guess it would also not be too easy because also there's the Tianwan, Tianwan, out here with double the population of the Han. And then in general, they're just surrounded by strong players like Song as well, who have a little bit over double their population. So yeah, Han, kind of interesting. And then for last, we have Africa with the big Mamluks, who essentially are trying to survive against the emerging Ottomans and all the different major powers there. Hafsids, they're essentially a bit of a proto-Tunisia, and they're pretty okay. Fez, proto-Morocco, Tlemcen, proto-Algeria, and then you have all of the African states. Of course, the big one is the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire and, possible other empires that could be rising up. Of course, you know that the Songhai in our, timeline came up. But, there's also Kano, Oyo, Yao, Kanem-Bornu, all these little states that you can play. And then, of course, in the east, there's Ethiopia, which is, Christian Miaphysite, and that's also kind of interesting because there aren't a lot of Miaphysites around. There's only a couple of stateless Miaphysites out here, and at Sinkan, yeah, and then a couple of Miaphysites down here that actually have states. There's also a Jewish little duchy, Semyon. So Semyon could be. Yeah, Semyon could be pretty interesting, because they're like the last Jews. Yeah, they're basically the last Jews that have a state, so they would also be pretty interesting. So yeah, do comment down below which country do you think I should be playing, and of course, I'll see you soon. Probably about a week from now, I'll start a new series.